on, son.
Raphael on the track.
Come on, son. Come on, son. Yes, come on, son, the podcast, everybody. And we are in the Main Street Studios, and this is being brought to you by CigarsInternational.com. Go to CigarsInternational.com for all your cigar needs. Y'all know I am the premier cigar aficionado in this damn African-American community.
How long you been smoking?
I've been smoking cigars for like at least 10 years. Well, maybe more than that. But knowing what I'm doing, that's my in-studio guest today, Mr. Fonzworth Bentley. But knowing what I'm doing, it has
What's
to
happening,
be.
y'all?
It had to be like on the microphone, sir.
We live, y'all.
It had to be like about 5 or 6 years. Really knowing, binders and fillers and, and all of that good stuff.
Yeah,
and
that's
what
real.
a good leaf is and all of that. So go to CigarsInternational.com for all your cigar needs. If you buy something, when you go to checkout, type in ED10 off for 10% off all your purchases. And also locally brought to you by Nissan, South Morrow, 6889 Jonesboro Road. Big up to Chris and the whole crew over there who are with me 100%. And like I said, my studio guest is Mr. Fonzworth Bentley. And before we start, Fonzworth, I want to, again, send a big shout-out to Combat Jack, Reggie Osei. I want to say, I got to send it, because he's the reason why I'm podcasting. Literally came to Atlanta, invited me to do a podcast live with him.
Because he was early.
I'm thinking I'm one of the guests for the podcast live. I am the guest in Atlanta. We talked for 2 hours, and when we finished, he said, "Man, the feedback that I got a couple of weeks later from sitting with you and you telling stories was amazing." And he was like, "You should podcast," and allowed me to start this podcast and then put it on the Loudspeakers Network, which is his network. And I'm forever indebted and grateful to this man.
Wow.
And I hope that A. King, who's his producer, and Premium Pete, and all of you guys out there that work together, and him and Premium Pete split. But I'm hoping that something like this tragedy, can bring all y'all back together and keep his show going. I know nobody else is Combat Jack.
Right.
I know it. But you got to keep it going. To me, it's the way Diddy stepped up after Biggie passed away. There's never going to be another Biggie, but Bad Boy can't stop moving.
Right.
And that's the unfortunate part of it. You know what I mean, Farnsworth? Like, we just lost Ed Wood. We just lost Reggie Osei. And then my producer, Krista Hayes, Baby Bucket, sends me this YouTube video that somebody had shot on New York lawyers. I didn't even know they had worked together.
Wow.
And they both gone. So, I'm just saying, you got to keep that man's name. Keep somebody step in.
Right.
I'm open to it.
Right.
If y'all need me to, I am definitely open to saying this is the Combat Jack show and keeping that shit going. Because his brand needs to continue for everybody. Because that's what he was way ahead of his time when it comes to
and his
this
cultural DNA just, it goes through so many careers. And I had this conversation with, I think it was Andre Harrell, it was Puff, and I think, it was Larry Jackson. And the thing that I said is, the thing that I dislike the most about the music industry is that it doesn't do a good job of finding something at all for people to do who have added so much value to the culture.
Right.
They throw people away when they don't think that they're that high. And I'm not saying that was where Combat Jack was, right? But I'm just saying there's so many instances of this. Dominic Trenier is a perfect example of that, and that's what I dislike the most about the music industry. These folks who have had strokes of geniuses, it just wasn't a moment. This is who they are.
Yeah.
And there are enough platforms, there's enough things going on that people can find something for folks to do so that they can continue. There's no 401k for hip hop, bro.
That's right.
There's no 401k.
That's right.
For hip-hop.
And I'm going right along with what you said. One of my biggest disappointments, I think, for 2017 was what happened to Kid Creole from the Furious Five. And I think even more than that was seeing that Kid Creole was working as a handyman and a janitor. That shit bothered me to no end. There's too many multi-millionaires in hip-hop for somebody not to turn around and say, hey, Kid Creole, I got a job for you. Come over here.
Anything.
I got a job. Because he's part of the foundation for the reason why you're making that money.
Believe it.
His pedigree in hip-hop far surpasses, no matter how historically people dismiss hip-hop and the people that came before him and the pioneers that opened the door, Kid Creole and Melly Mel, especially Mel, and his brother Kid Creole, they're brothers. Those are the first guys that started rapping the way we know rap today. Before
Facts.
am I lying?
Facts.
Putting words and metaphors and similes together was Melly Mel, and he got his brother Kid Creole involved in it. Before that, everybody was a call and response. I know, I grew up in it. I listened to Woody Wood. I listened to Eddie Chiba. Those tapes floated around. I know what Busy B was. Busy B was not an MC. He was an MC, but he wasn't a rapper.
Right. No,
DJ Hollywood.
It's different.
He was an MC.
He was an MC.
He wasn't a rapper. An MC was what I first became when I first started loving hip-hop. I was Eddie D with the MC crew. I was the guy that had my girls and queens with my name on their T-shirt, and they would be in a party, and I'd be in a party, and whenever they let me on the mic, it was MC Crew, what you got for me? And they yell, 2 turntables in the Def MC. And I yell, MC Crew, what we gonna do? Go down, go down. That's not rapping. No. That's MC. And I later
Master
on
of ceremony.
Right. I later on learned how to become a rapper. And that's because Mel and them came out with Child is Born with No State of Mind, Blind to the West. That's rapping.
Right.
That's
right.
That's your lineage. That's the lineage to everybody. That's the lineage to Biggie and Jay-Z and Slick Rick and everybody that you can name. So to see this brother, unfortunately, get himself tied up with the law, we all know as black men, we don't want to do that. No how, no way, no day.
A record is a record.
Right. But to be working and not being able to sustain himself just for being...
It's not okay.
Grandmaster Flash, they in the Rock and Roll fucking Hall of Fame.
Believe it.
You ain't gonna find, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're not gonna really find no white boy that's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that's fucking down on his luck like that because Phil Collins or somebody will grab him and take him on tour. He'll have a job doing something. We throw our shit away too much, man.
We do, and
there's no respect.
It isn't, and that's why I really do. I remember. I guess it's been some years ago when I sat with Jay, and he was saying that he's been spending the majority of his time. At the time, he was spending the majority of his resources and time in really perfecting his craft on stage and really making.
Are you talking Jay-Z?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, and because he was like, it makes no sense how the Stones and all of these folks can tour in their late 50s and late 60s. And we don't have acts that do that necessarily.
Right. We throw them away.
And we throw them away, and then you get another generation saying folks is old, and they trying to take shots with this whole thing, and it's like, no, we have to. It's about sustainability.
Yes.
And it's also about respect. And it was Maya Angelou who said, you're standing on the shoulders, of giants. And no, that's not what she said. Somebody else said that, but what she said was, if you don't know your history.
I'm glad you said that, bro. I'm glad you said that, because nothing bothers me more than see somebody quote somebody on Instagram, and you be like, when the fuck did Tupac say that? Pac never said this shit. Stop putting a picture of Pac with a fake quote.
No. She was doing about, if you don't know your history, you're destined to repeat it and that sort of thing. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but it's a real thing, and we just got to do a better job of that. And, I don't want to hear the argument of, well, no, he didn't say something. He's not supposed to say something. He didn't have to say something. Somebody knows something like that's going on. There's some type of, creative director to a project manager to something.
Right, road manager.
Something.
For something. If he don't have the skills, teach the brother the skills.
And he's going to add value.
That's right. He has definitely added value. That brother right there that is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame should not have been working in some building as a handyman and a janitor. It just doesn't make any kind of sense
Now, on the flip side, I will say that there are some handymen in buildings that do make a lot of money.
Oh, hell yeah.
No,
especially you're in that union, right?
Like I'm saying, like literally, like upwards of 100. I'm just saying, like, so
if they got them no-show jobs the mom used to have.
I'm just saying, but
yeah,
quiet as kept. He may have had a little quiet lick he was over there doing. So, but yeah, no, I guess the point still remains.
Yeah,
we should not be throwing away the foundations of this culture.
Let me ask you a question, my brother. When do you think? Because I know you're a very successful songwriter and entertainer, and you're really, really, really behind pushing forward education, and especially for young black men. And we seem to be losing our HBCUs.
Yeah. Listen, so that's a rough one for me, man, because I think
you went to one.
I'm a graduate of Morehouse College here in Atlanta. My dad went to Morehouse. I'm a Spell House baby.
Okay. Straight up.
You
ain't have a choice.
I've been going to homecoming as long as I've been on earth. My wife went to Spelman, but what I can say, and I remember being at this dinner in UNCF, in New York, and they were talking about, this was a dinner where they were kind of unveiling their new phrase, which it was, a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and it changed to, a mind is a terrible thing to waste, but it's like a wonderful thing to invest in. Or I'm paraphrasing a bit there.
Okay.
And it was a round table, and a gentleman who was ahead of me at Morehouse, who went on to, American University in D.C. and did, he's a, very well-to-do attorney. He brings up he gets the floor, and he's like, I'm not going to send my son to Morehouse, or I'm not going to send my son to an HBCU because I want him to be able to compete in this, new millennium, and it's an international marketplace, and blah, 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 and all of the above. And he went through all of these things. And, I got to say, like, I gasped. I couldn't, like, I didn't even respond initially because I was so thrown to hear this man saying this. And literally after it was over, I went up to him and I said, hey, brother, let me ask you a question. You went to Morehouse, you went to American University, and you've matriculated through, corporate America and so on and so forth. I was like, the person who you are today, did you get that from Morehouse or did you get that from American University? And he said, I got that from Morehouse College. I said, so I just do not understand how you don't think that it's relevant for you to be able to send your son to an HBCU. And it had him think again about what he had said, and listen, I get it. My mentor's son's at University of Pennsylvania, Wharton Business School, one of the top business schools in the world. And literally, he's hanging out in the library and, they're Kennedys. And, for spring break, he's at the Kennedy's house. Right. Now, his starting block is definitely in a different place. It's going to be in a different place than my starting block when I finished Morehouse College, right? However, I still believe that, these schools not only are relevant, these schools, at the end of the day, what I got from going to the AU and was really this understanding of, we got to make sure that you are the brightest and the best before we send you out into the world. And you're not going to forget who you are when you go out into the world. And I think that the decisions I've made as an artist and as a producer today, I know that stems from, where I've come from. Like, people don't understand. People think when you're creating a brand, it's about sitting here in front of a whiteboard and, putting it down and scrambling all out and doing the think tank and going through ideation and all of the above. And then it's like, okay, I need to say yes to this or this. But creating a brand is more about what you say no to than it's about what you say yes to. And if you don't have a foundation of character and integrity grounded in something that's very real, that no matter what, that internal compass is going to snatch you back in order. You may think that you're growing and creating a brand, but I'm telling you, a lot of these brands, and we see them, they get to a certain place and then they fall, and they fall very hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's because it's like it's like you're going and you're hot and you're messing around and you're grabbing for straws. And you'd realize, like, okay, well, what do I really represent really? Like, if I say to myself, what is the question that I ask myself more than anything? So, my wife and I were doing our whole 2018 kind of like thing. And, that's a very interesting question to ask yourself. And it tells you a lot about yourself when you say, what is the question you ask yourself more than anything? And you find a lot about yourself. But, the number one thing is, this next generation, man, when it comes to giving back, it's hard. If I got to choose between my Netflix or giving back, a lot of these young people going to choose Netflix. And so you got to create a culture of understanding you got to give back, because the way it works is when the president of any of these prestigious universities or institutions goes out to the AT&Ts or the Amazons or the Googles to raise capital, or the Starbucks to raise capital for the school, the first thing they say is, give me the percentage of the folks that have gone to your school. What percentage do they give back? And whatever that percentage is, they're like, well, I'm not going to give more than your own gives back, because they don't even care that much about your university. So folks got to understand, it's like, it's not even how much you give, it's how consistent you give. You can give $5 a month. You can give $2. You can give $1 a month. You can get $12 a year. But if all of the folks at HBCUs did that, like consistently, the level of endowment that these schools would have would be amazing. I learned something. I went to LSU, and I was going on a full tour, and they got the tiger there and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so they're like, yeah, and this tree here is endowed at $10 million, and this tree. I'm like, whoa, hold on. The tree is worth money? They're like, yeah. I was like, I've never even heard that before.
Oh, a tree being worth money.
The tree had endowment. It blew my mind. And then I just started asking at different HBCUs. I was like, did you all know that you could put a value on the different trees on your camp? Like, no, most folks have never even heard of such. And it's just like, that level and access to information, right? And, I have to say, a lot of these institutions with, these tenured professors and folks have been, doing things a certain way for a certain amount of time. And a lot of folks don't necessarily really want to switch with the times. And that's a problem. Because at the end of the day, when somebody's going to look at somebody's resume or so on and so forth, and if I want to get a job working for the NSA, or I may want to go get a job in defense at some point because I do really well in math and science, well, they go back 10, 15 years to look at your record before you can even be considered for that job. So, but if you don't have students to understand, you know what, I may need to make certain decisions when I'm 17 years old, when I'm 15 years old, if I want to have a job working in defense where, I'm coming in at the gate and I'm making $350.
Right.
With the craziest benefits and the best, benefits that any other person on earth has. But that's not even an option to me because I done something stupid on the ground.
Wow.
And so, I just think that there's a level of, not only access, but just knowledge of really the way, this modern world works that, is imperative for these institutions. But also, the people who have gone to these institutions, don't be afraid to send your folks there because you think that it may not be up with the times or so on and so forth. One of the things I've learned, working, being a man of God and serving, is whatever you don't like in your church, that's actually the place where you're supposed to go serve. That's the way it works, and that's how it should be in our community. It's like we take so much time, complaining and talking about what we don't like, when it's like, you know what? I know that you probably never thought about being a public servant or running for office, but you know what? That may be something that you need to do. or find somebody in your circle to help them get to the place where they can do that, because that's what it's all about. It is about serving. So you bring up so much when you kind of open that can of worms up for me.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of young people now coming out of high school feel like they'd be better served by not going to a HBCU because they think when it's time for them to enter the job market, another degree will hold more water than an HBCU?
I think that's possible. I definitely think that's possible. But I think, what I know is your gift will make room for you, and that's a fact. And I know, you gotta understand, when I was I went to Morehouse 92, 96. You can't get no better year of music and culture.
Right.
I got
some young people would tend to disagree with that, but
well, that's fine. But here's my argument. My freshman year, I'm in room 401 at Graves Hall. What's the 411 came out? Okay. SWV, I got a SWV album. I got a first Biggie album. I got a Snoop album. I got a Chronic album. I got a Mobb Deep album. I got a 92 through Infinity album. I got an Outkast album. I mean, I can keep going. You know what I mean? I got Tony Braxton. I got a Sade album. Y'all ain't even got a Sade album. I got a Sade album. I got and not only that, being in Atlanta, all of these artists and stuff had to come through Atlanta. So
don't forget TLC.
TLC, all of
Aaliyah.
Aaliyah, all of that stuff.
Jeez.
Was, I mean, the variety of just incredible. Dude, you went broke trying to go to concerts. It was that many concerts.
Yeah, it was a lot.
But they also all went to the schools because they were all just coming up. So you would get a lot of freebies, concerts and promotional shows.
That is so missing now, isn't it?
Oh man, dude,
it is so missing. Like the artists today, they don't want to do nothing for free.
And you can't look at it about doing it for free. You got to look at it as I'm sowing a seed.
Yeah, and I'm building an audience.
And
everybody went on promo tour. I don't see nobody they don't want to do a promo tour.
And come on, labels, don't act. Y'all are back, so it's some money.
Right.
Don't let's stop playing.
Y'all figured it out.
Thanks streaming.
Streaming dough is there.
You sticking up streaming.
You sticking the shit out of streaming. So don't act like you don't have any money. You got plenty of money.
So but promo tours and that stuff. I mean, the part that they're missing is then you wonder why artist development is not at the level.
I miss street teams too, man.
Oh yeah, well
I'm sorry, I miss street teams. Street teams let you know what the fuck was getting ready to happen, what was happening. I mean, it did start getting overdone, but I miss that, and I miss promo tours. I remember you get signed, you was going on a promo.
You did a promo tour. You understand? At Morehouse, I saw a Bad Boy jacket before I even knew what Bad Boy was.
Oh wow.
I saw a Bad Boy jacket and was just kind of like, what's that? And then I heard a Craig Mack record and then saw the logo again.
Yeah.
So, and then connected the two.
You missed the Big Mac.
No, the Big Mac. Yeah. I didn't miss the Big Mac. I know about the Big Mac.
It was such a great promotional.
It was the best. It was one of the greatest promotions.
You get props for that, Puff.
So his first two artists were Biggie and Craig Mack. So
Craig was first out the bat.
Right. Craig was first. So he got the McDonald's
Big Mac
thingy.
The box.
The Big
And
Mac had. It was called the Big Mac, and it was Biggie and Craig Mack, and he had
put a
the
sticker
single
right on top of it. It had a cassette single inside
there you go.
the box.
It had the single with one of each.
Yes, it gave it out to everybody.
Who don't want that?
Brilliant.
Somebody has to have one of those, by the way. If you have one of those, please post it on Instagram and tag me and Ed Lover,
yes,
please.
I would love to see that.
I would love to see that.
Do you think Puff got that? Does Puff got a vault somewhere with just like
he got
worked with him for a long time?
Yes, he does have vaults, but like
of all his just bad boy cool shit that he put out,
he does, but like it's probably not organized.
Puff, I'm sorry.
No, he's Puff. He's always going to be. Anybody
Puff.
Knows calls him Puff.
Yeah, I can't do the Diddy thing, P Diddy, the brother love thing. I'm glad he was joking about that because it threw me off, but it's always going to be Puffy to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
For a long time.
For sure.
So you think he got a vault with all that shit in it?
I think he probably.
I hope so.
No. I for sure know that stuff gets stashed in different places and that sort of thing. Like how organized and all of that. Like that's I'm gonna send him a text about you need to have all them dang assistants. Somebody just needs to go and organize all that stuff.
Right.
Because, yeah,
Exactly what was your role when you worked for Puff?
I was Puff's assistant, but the reality is because of the way his business is structured, Puff is the godfather, and I need people to be very clear about that. Like if you've seen The Godfather, the film,
yes,
1 or 2,
all of them.
that's Puff.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
I was the consigliere.
Okay.
Right. So if you look at it, the consigliere, in security, those were the closest folks to the Godfather.
Absolutely.
At all times.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and I just think because he was diversified and because the restaurant was still happening at that point, I got the opportunity to watch how a mogul runs that many businesses and add value to those businesses, and I will pat myself on the back. I was the one that told him he needed to focus more on fashion, and I told him that fashion was the next frontier. And I had come from working at Ralph Lauren, so I'm one of the first African Americans to work on the floor on 72nd, the flagship store in New York, because most black folks, we worked in shipping and receiving at that time.
Okay.
There wasn't a lot of black people on the floor, and so I had worked in fashion for 2.5 years here in Atlanta and in New York. So I was like, dude, there's a huge opportunity here. And so I never.
Can we backtrack for a minute, please?
Sure.
Because a lot of people, including myself, are interested to know how did you go from working on the floor at Ralph Lauren to working for Puff? How did you meet Puff? How did that whole thing happen? I need that story.
Sure. So what happens is, born and raised here in Atlanta, finished Morehouse, finished all my credits in December 96. We only walk once in the spring, so I got to get a job, right? Because I got a whole semester. I got to get a job. So I needed benefits, health benefits. Polo had just become a public company, so Polo made sense. Also, I knew I needed to get to New York because I wanted to work in entertainment. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I knew it was hip-hop specific, but I didn't know what, and I didn't know how. And, we all know, all of the folks in Atlanta, they kind of, those deals, they went through some stuff. From Tony to Outkast to TLC and so on and so forth, right? So, and, I went to middle school with 3,000. So it was I was like, I got to get to the heart of this culture. I got to get to New York. So I go to New York and, sold more than anybody in the Southeast. So I got recruited to New York, the mansion. So I'm at the Polo Mansion. And so what happened is, I live in Brooklyn. I live in Bed-Stuy. I was living in McDonald between Ralph and Howard, right? All my 4 or 5 Utica, if you go local Ralph.
Shout out Brooklyn.
If you all my folks.
Born in Brooklyn, right here at Cumberland Hospital. Then my father got a job. We went to Queens.
Okay. So anyway, I first when I get to New York, so I'm going from Brooklyn to 72nd and Madison. So when I could either go home, put on some sneakers and get, chilled out, or I go out from work. So I went out from work so I wouldn't miss the happy hour time, which is, 6 to 8,
right.
6 to 9 young professionals doing different things. And this is the days of life, Moomba, all of that kind of stuff. Oh,
my God, so good times.
Yeah, still Tunnel, all that stuff. So, but you get your pre-on before you hit the club.
That's right.
Right? So
pre-gaming, the young people call it nowadays.
Yeah, pre-game.
We invented it. Just let y'all know that.
So my thing was, I began to brand myself unbeknownst to me because I was wearing suits, but in a different way because people wore suits, were wearing gray suits, navy suit, white shirt, blue shirt, red tie, yellow tie. I'm in a chocolate brown 3-piece with a lavender shirt with a foulard tie slapping you upside the head with chocolate brown suedes.
Right.
This is serious.
How were you doing this on a polo?
No,
budget,
you get 65% off if you work in this mansion.
Oh, you was killing them.
I was killing them.
You was purple labeling before we knew what the fuck
but
it
I
was.
literally was purple labeling before y'all knew what it was.
Wow.
I sold Pimp C a purple label green suede suit for what? For I think it was like $4,500. I'll never forget. I sold it to Pimp C like Pimp. Nobody has this. But I'm just a kid. Anyway, so the point is trying to get into the different events, and the thing that everybody went to was Life, right? That's where everybody went. Yes. Still, to me, the greatest party for me of I've ever been to. It was Life, right? Mark Ronson, would spin, and it was it. King would be at the front door. Took me 2 months to get past King. You know what I mean?
That's funny. I used to walk right in life. It's crazy.
Yeah. So it took me I'm from Atlanta. I don't know nobody. So
right in.
it took me
What's up, man? What's up, King?
Yeah. So it took me 2 months to get past King. Finally got in, and so what happens? I'll never forget. Sean John, if you remember when it launched, it was T-shirts,
yes,
denim, and velours.
That's right.
That T-shirt, Japan, Tokyo, New York, L.A., and that was it. Well, I've been working in fashion now almost 3 years, so I was a very confident working in fashion. I was now training for design down at the men's manager was really grooming me, training me for design at Ralph, that sort of thing. So, I remember I was like, man, I didn't care if I worked for Jay, Dame, Russell, Puff, any of the moguls. I just knew I wanted to work for one of them because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew if I got next to these guys who were managing all these different businesses, I could figure out how is it that they're doing this. And then once I figure out where I could be the most successful, then I could go do that.
Okay.
That was my strategy.
Okay.
Now, what I realized is when I got to New York, I was like, these folks is making a lot of money, but they're not classy. And it bothered me. It bothered me. It really bothered me.
Russell with the big T-shirt and the hats.
But even like getting in proximity and sometimes even hearing the conversation and the level of conversation. And I got it was a Sony mini disc then. I'm on the train with my mini disc, and I didn't like the looks I got when I'm listening to hip hop. But I'm dressed better than everybody in my purple label suit, but the looks I got listening to hip hop, I'm like, these people don't get it. Hip hop is a completely new genre of music.
Right.
Like, it's like, okay, why don't you go home and create a new genre of music? Like, go do that. That's not happening.
Right. It's not gonna happen.
So I was so enamored with this culture and grew up watching this culture, and it bothered me that it wasn't class. So I had a strategic thing. I said, I want to bring class to hip hop. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but that was something that I had in my heart. In a very real way. And I felt if I got next to one of the bigger voices in hip-hop that I could do that. So anyway, you can't go up to public like, hi, my name is Derek Watkins, and I'm a graduate of Morehouse College. And, I would really love an internship. I'm sure Puff got that at least 1,500 times a week.
Right.
So I said,
maybe a day.
Or a day. So I'm like, I got to find a different way of doing this. So I walked up to him, and I was just like, I was like,
where'd you see him at?
It was either... If it wasn't Moomba, it was one of them type spots. Okay, so intimate spot. And I walked right up to him. He was secure, and I walked up to him, and I pointed to my attire, and I looked at him. I said, you want to do this? I said, but you can't do this, and then walked off.
Oh, shit. What an arrogant fuckwad.
It's exactly what he was thinking, right?
Right.
But I wasn't. I just knew I had to say something to get under his skin.
Okay.
And to pique interest. Like, who is this nigga?
Right.
Second time I saw him, walked up to him, I said, Mr. Combs, do you know how much more money than me you have? I said, but do you know how much better I look than you every single day? And then walked off.
Oh, shit.
So I'm walking off before he can even say something.
Right. You ain't even waiting for a rebuttal.
I ain't waiting for him. I'm
like,
out.
fuck you. That's what I got to say. Yeah, I'm out.
Right. The reality is, I know I can't do no verbal karate with Puff.
Did you leave the club or did you stay in the club? Or just walk away from him?
I walked completely away to a whole nother, either upstairs.
Somewhere he didn't see you at all.
It was not possible.
Okay, all right.
No goons was going to follow me, none of that. Right? So then I remember I'm in Atlanta. We know Kim Porter, shout out to Kim Porter, mother three of his children. /4, really. Shout out to Quincy.
Right.
Puff's always in Atlanta throwing parties, so he's in Atlanta. I happen to be home, so I was like, I got to get in this party, no matter what. So I get to the party. I also know I got to use a different approach because at this point he knows who I. Even in New York, a face, a familiar face.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm sitting like across the party. So he's sitting there looking, and then when you saw, as soon as he catches.
How did you get in the party though?
Oh, I snuck in.
Okay.
I've been sneaking in parties.
Wait a minute. You waited till somebody opened the door and then snuck in?
Oh yeah, we've been doing that since Lower Manly at Morehouse College. Like you get somebody get in, then you go find the door, and then that's how you do it.
Okay.
I've been sneaking
Where
in.
I'm from, we used to bum rush the fucking security.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Knock his ass down and stomp on him a little bit and get in the fucking party. Fuck
I've
him.
I've been
got
sneaking
razors in their mouth. You don't want it.
Still, even once I got in the game, still sneaking in events. That's a whole nother thing. So
okay.
So I'm in. So he on the other side. So he's catching the vibes, and as soon as he sees me, I throw my hands up like,
Is that what you did?
Yeah, put my hand gesture from head to toe, like, come on, bro. Shake my head, like, come on. Right? Don't go over there to him. Lead a party. Now, the interesting thing is, about 2 weeks later, I'm in New York. I'm at Blue Ribbon downtown.
Mm-hmm. Love that place.
Right. So
still open to this day.
Still open to this day.
Stays open to 4 a.m.
And you can't get a better late night meal at 4 a.m. in Manhattan
than Blue Ribbon.
Do yourself a favor.
Yes.
So I'm in Blue Ribbon, small dining room,
yes.
right? Maybe 20-something tables, tops. So I'm sitting there. I'm with this shoe designer, a gentleman's footwear designer, and my homegirl, Jeanette. And Puff walks in. As soon as he walks in, he like A-lines to my table, walking over my table. So as he's walking over, I stand up, button my jacket, stare down match. Of course I win. I have to win. Right. So I win, and then he looks at Jeanette because he knew Jeanette. He's like, yo, give him my two-way. This is Motorola two-ways. Now, for the young people who don't know what a Motorola time port two-way is, this is highest level cultural. This was email. This was DM. This is
technology at its finest.
Yeah, and it cost. Them things were expensive.
Those were expensive. $350, $400.
Now,
yes.
And the thing is, you were in the industry, so you had one. I
had to pay for mine just like everybody else.
But my point is, I wasn't in the industry, but because industry people had them, I knew I had to get that.
Okay.
Because if I ever wanted to communicate, you got to have a platform that they communicate on.
That's where ringtones started.
It's a very good point.
Yes.
That's a very good cultural point. So anyway, he said, yo, give him my two-way number. I want to work on my fall wardrobe, is what he says. So he gives me, so I get the two-way number. So now I got the two-way number. I didn't hit him. I'm busy. I wasn't busy. I'm at home like, oh my God, I got the plug right here. Like, what do you say? What is the first message? Like, what do you say for the first message, right? So I'm sitting there, and then, next thing you know, and I'm just kind of waiting for the right time. And next thing you know, Club New York happens. Club New York is him and his girlfriend at the time, Jennifer Lopez, go to Club New York. The shooting happens. Shine,
the whole bullshit.
So he gets on trial. And my first message was actually like a Bible verse, sending a Bible verse. But I'm sure everybody was sending a Bible verse. The Negroes on trial for murder.
Right.
So he would just reply, thank you. But, I'm one of a trillion messages, I'm sure, at that time. So then, he gets through the trial. And he goes into Ralph Lauren. And at this time I had left, and I'm working for Danny Meyer at 11 Madison Park and Tablet Restaurant.
Okay.
They are the ones that created Shake Shack. I low-key was a part of that. That's a funnier, longer. I'm low-key the Forrest Gump of culture.
Okay.
Low-key.
Oh, I would love to hear this story. But let's continue with the
we'll
Puff
continue.
story.
We'll
go to the Shake Shack story.
So the bottom line is, I'm sitting there, and
so you left Polo.
So I left Polo. I'm working in the
Why?
restaurant business.
Real quick, why?
Why? Because I met the gentleman who trained the guy who had been the head designer for menswear for the last 17 years by the name of John Vazone. His mentor's name is Alan Flusser, who's won more Cody Awards than any other menswear designer, and has written more books about fashion, standard foundational cultural books about men's fashion than anybody in the world.
Okay.
I met him. His daughter was working in my section. I met him, so I was like, I don't need to be sitting here folding these little bitty flag sweaters anymore. I just need to learn under him. He put together curriculum for me. I went to FIT, took the curriculum he put together, so I'm like focused at the time. So I don't need to do this, but I still need to make money, so I got a job at a restaurant.
Okay.
So, good question, by the way. So the sidebar part of that. Oh, anyway, I don't want to because it's already long. So I'm working. So I'm like going to FIT, working in a restaurant, and so I wake up after doing the double at the restaurant at like 12:30 in the afternoon, and I see I got 15 missed calls from Ralph Lauren. I call up Ralph. Hit my man Sean McDowell. Sean, what's going on? Like, I got 15. He's like, man, I called you. Puff came in here. He asked for you. And we trying to call you because we know you live down the street. We know you've been trying to develop this relationship. I'm like, oh, man. I said, you know what? Fax me a receipt of everything he bought. A fax machine, young people, is a device that you would send, like you would make a copy of something and then you would send it digitally in a piece of paper, and it would be a lot thinner. And a lot of times you couldn't see it well.
Fax paper.
And you could send things like you could send This is pre-email.
Yes. Yes, it was. Before the plain paper fax machine came out.
Exactly.
It was a roll of paper.
Right.
Remember that? It was a roll of paper. It was thin as fuck. It was terrible.
So he sent me a fax of Puff's receipt. Now I had just finished working at Ralph, so I know the SKUs, I know what everything is. So I see all the clothes he's bought, and I'm like, okay, where is he going based on what he bought? Now, mind you, people, this is pre-Google. I know most of y'all listening don't even know. Earth
people, are you
pre-Google.
listening?
Y'all don't know a pre-Google Earth. So I can't say, Google, where are celebrities going in the month of February? Formal wear. No, you can't do that. You had to do what I call real research. And I'm not chumping off your research, but Ed, you know what I'm talking about. You had to pick up the phone. You had to call this one. You had to call that one. You had to figure it out.
Right.
That's where figure it out came from. So I'm doing that, and I deduced, based on this, he's going to the Academy Awards. He has to be. He's buying all this formal wear. He has to be going to the Academy Awards. So I put together 3 ensembles based on what he bought. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Why 2 is better than 3. Why number 1's better than 2. Da-da-da-da-da. And the inspiration from whatever film or photograph I got them from. And that's my first message. Boom. Send it to him. No response. Okay? Still going to the restaurant. Get sent home for being late again. And I left the restaurant knowing I was never going to return again, and it had nothing to do with the restaurant. The best job I've ever had of any job I've ever done, other than being a father and a husband, has been working at a restaurant front door. It's the most fun job ever. But I had just outgrown that opportunity, and I went with a goal, and I knew I had to get back to my goal. So I walk out of the restaurant. I got on my 2 and I hit Puff. I'm sure you're really busy. I need to talk to you. He responds, who is this? I said, it's Derek. He said, well, where are you? I said, around the corner from my house. He said, who is this? I said, it's Derek Watkins. He said, where are you? I said, it's 72nd and 2nd. He said, who is this? So I'm like, okay, now how do I let him know who this is?
Right.
And I said, it's Derek Watkins, the soup master. Send it. He didn't respond. He knows who this is.
Okay.
So I sit in the lobby of my apartment there on 72nd and 2nd. And I do what I do when I don't know what to do, as I went into prayer. And the thing about prayer, folks, is prayer is not a monologue, it's a dialogue. But people really don't obviously take the time to actually listen and communicate to hear what the Father's actually saying. And I said to him, the whole Jesus is my homeboy. He's like, he really is my homeboy. So I said, I said, okay, look, Lord, check this out. I'm not going back to the restaurant on Monday, and I need you to tell me right now explicitly what I need to say in this next message so I can have audience with Puff today. And I'm not leaving from this lobby until you tell me explicitly what to write. And I sat there, and I didn't move for 25 straight minutes. Next time you get a chance, see if you can stay still for 5 straight minutes.
Right.
Okay? I didn't move for 25 minutes. And when I tell you, it came right out my spirit, and I just started typing. You remember the guy from Howard University that traveled to New York City to intern with Andre Harrell? That's Puff's story.
That's right.
I'm that guy in 2001. Don't make me go back to work on Monday at the restaurant. He said, come to 1396 3rd Avenue. I started training as his assistant that day.
Oh, wow.
Facts.
Wow.
Facts.
Had you discussed salary or anything? You just started
I showed up, and next thing you know, we got in the car, and we were headed down to the Soho Grand. No, he said, he hands me his phone. He says, make a reservation at the Soho Grand for drinks. You can't make a reservation at this particular area, Soho Grand, for drinks. Do not use my name. If you don't have the reservation by the time we get there, just have a nice life. It's all good.
Oh,
all
shit.
Good. Yeah. So as soon as he hands me the phone, as soon as I dial, as soon as I say hello, meaning I have connected Soho Grand, he immediately turns the music all the way up. Hello? This is New York. They hang up on me 3 times. Now, mind you, I know all of the language to get a reservation because I've been working in the restaurant business.
Okay.
We pull up to the Soho Grand.
Would you like to share that language? A little bit of it. So
one of the things you want to say, people, if you're calling and you can't get a reservation, you call and you say, how you doing? Can I please speak to the manager of reservations? I have a soigné guest that I'd really like to make sure that they are taken care of. Okay? Soigner is French meaning to take care of.
Okay.
It's also inner circle that community language.
Okay.
They know, oh, you got a soigner guest. That's different. Now, then you got to finesse the rest after that, right? But that is sort of like, just like in our culture, there's language and stuff that you know and da-da-da. So anyway, So as the SUVs pull into the Soho Grand, I jump out the car moving. Sprint, run up the stairs. I see some people. You know how when you finishing dinner and people standing up, like we would finish dinner, you're like, oh, okay, well, yeah. You know you're doing. I see a table doing that, right? Now, I've been working the restaurant this whole time. As they doing that, I start clearing the table. people at Soul Grand looking at me like, what is he doing? Like, he doesn't, but I'm clearing, like, I worked at 11 Madison Park. This is like,
Right.
To this day, 11 Madison Park is the #1 U.S. restaurant of the U.S. restaurants in the global kind of Michelin star, Like, anyway. So I'm clearing, I hear the voices. I hear him walking up the stairs, So by the time he gets upstairs, I'm leaning against the wall, like, next. Swagging, like, okay. Anyway, like, that's I'm like my attitude is that's light work.
Right.
Now, mind you, the food writer from the New York Magazine is right across. And so I know all the food writers because they come to the restaurant. So he's like, Derek, is everything okay? I'm just like, shut up. Because, like, he don't know I work at a restaurant. Like, I'm still he don't know who I am. I'm still a man of mystery.
Right.
Right? So Puff sits there, and he's having a meeting with this girl who's trying to get to do, like, Sean John Women's.
So you just gave him a table with no reservation?
Just walked in, cleared the table.
Sat down.
Cleared the table.
And he just sat there.
And he just sat there.
And nobody from the Soho Grand said, no, sir, no.
But at this point, it's Puff in the building.
Right. At this point, they already know who he is. So, fuck
Puff,
it.
Yeah.
So, they're not going to ask him to get up.
So, this is
to toss my ass out of there. What?
This is a pinnacle. This is a pinnacle moment where I realize this is the beginning of understanding what the relationship is going to be like. After he finished this meeting, I'm sitting there, I got my legs crossed, just like I cross my legs, like if I'm reading the Sunday paper or watching the game, whatever. So I'm sitting there, and then he's like, yo, motherfucker, you ain't hanging out, nigga. What the fuck is what you sitting down? What you sitting like that, nigga? I'm like, what are you talking about? Motherfucker, what you sitting like that for? And I'm like, this is how I sit. And in this moment, I realized, remember, Puff's father died at, he was 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
So he literally went through being raised by mama, shout out to Mama Combs.
Big shout out to her. Hi, Janice.
And then he went to Howard and left, started coming out under arrest. So he just went straight into the culture.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as a father figure or a strong male in his life, I don't know what really represented that for him.
Okay.
So the way I was sitting to him looked like I was hanging out, but I'm sitting like how my dad said, like how a man sit.
Right.
But he thinking I'm sitting like trying to be fly.
Yeah, like you're trying to relax.
And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, no, this is how I sit. And I realized in this moment, this is going to be a bi-mentorship. He's going to be mentoring me, and I'm going to be mentoring him.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that in that moment. I'm like, because I was like, what is he? How is he missing this? Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, I walk GQ. You know what I mean? I lean Vanity Fair. That's just a bar, but anyway.
I love that bar. I lean Vanity Fair. That's some fly shit.
But anyway,
I tell my wife that when I get home. Girl, I lean Vanity Fair. You crazy?
But the reality is, and so what happens is, I never forget. After working with him for a bit, we go to LA. I had FedEx every suit he bought to LA. The FedEx bill was something like $6,000, something crazy. And everybody knows most very wealthy people are very frugal, and Puff's no different. So all I hear is, "Yo, who got a FedEx bill for $6,000?" And I'm like, "Oh, that'd be me." He said, "What the fuck? You just got here. What you think?" And I'm like, "No, I FedEx all of your suits here, and I want to show you which ones I'm keeping and which ones I'm throwing away. But the ones we're keeping, we're going to retailer, and this is my tailor in LA, so we're about to fix this." And he's like, "Oh, okay, well, shit, nigga, let's go." Right? Because, it was one of them proactive, that was that first, like, real proactive moment that I took.
Right.
And that's when...
If you know Puff, if you're going to go off the cuff with Puff or off the beaten path or off the script, the script is the best word to describe it. If you're going to go off the script with Puff, it better be fly shit.
It better be.
It has to be off the wall, fly
100%.
Fucking shit.
100%. So he immediately, okay, so this is when, and he hadn't presented himself yet post really the trial like that. So after this happened, and I remember seeing June Ambrose later, and she was like, when she met me, she was like, I knew somebody else was near him. I could tell. And so, you know, even though I'm the assistant, I'm really like chief. Like, you know, now I'm gonna say chief because you got Natalie Moore, who's this publicist, and the savant and all of the above. It's a whole team, but I'm literally a part of a transition team.
Yeah.
This is a man who has to completely transition his
you was
brand.
chief fly nigga though.
Yeah, but it was
For real, you was chief fly nigga.
Well, I appreciate it, but it was deeper than that because what happens is I remember he went to Jay Leno first. He was going to Leno. We had done British Vogue. And I mean, we in London, and he did British Vogue with Naomi, which by the way is the first time African Americans were on the cover for British Vogue. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I've always wanted to go to Jermyn Street, Savile Row. And he's like, no, Negro, you go look at the clothes they got and start picking stuff out. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, this is a dream come true. So anyway, I'm pissed. I pull the clothes out. What he has on the cover, I had when he walked in. So I styled the British Vogue. Obviously, they're not gonna give me styling credit for it.
Right.
But what he had on, so he wore the exact same suit on Jay Leno, and I switched the socks. So I said, you're going to wear these purple socks. I said, as soon as you sit down, cross your legs. Leno's going to say something because he's going to recognize this is a different Puff.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as he said he lost it in Puff, and Jay's like, he's thrown. Joey's like, wait, what's going on? This is different. I mean, it happened like clockwork, like literally like clockwork. And the thing for me was, you know, this is my boss, and I want to do the best for my boss, and I know he's representing the culture. What I didn't really understand is that it was going to change the whole hip hop culture. And then, you know, I remember we go and, you know, I remember this day in Rodeo with Jay, and Puff is taking Jay and showing Jay basically the same stuff I had done for him.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we went out, and, you know, Jay obviously has always had his point of view. Superfly, shout to Jay, fly guy, and so on and so forth. But I remember a little bit after this is when Jay kind of helped bridge the culture with, you know, I'm going to do button-ups.
Yes. Yeah.
And so this happened.
So the throwback off, button up, nigga. I remember that.
And that was like the bridge.
Fuck Mitchell and Ness up. Woo!
Like
single-handedly destroyed Mitchell and Ness.
And Mitchell and Ness, by the way, literally changed the gross national product of the United States at that time. Like Mitchell and Ness was, it was incredible.
If you didn't get your throwback from Mitchell and Ness, your shit was bullshit.
I still need the Pistol Pete
Maravich joint, right?
Yeah.
And Mitchell and Ness
Hawks.
also, shout out to Mitchell and Ness, they also single-handedly help educate young black men
Very good
with
point.
those throwback jerseys because
Very good point.
what it did was open them up to why are they wearing this jersey? Who is this person? Who is Wes Unseld? Who is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Who is Pistol Pete Maravich? They wanted to
classics.
know Hardwood classics.
Yeah.
But then Jay came out with changed clothes.
And it's funny, I was supposed to be in that video. We working on Diddy Runs the City. We in the edit, and Jay calls Puff, and he's like, yo, we want Bentley to come. Because in that video, Beans is the only dude that hits the runway. That was supposed to be me.
Okay.
Jay called Puff to have me, and so we were editing Diddy Runs the City, and it was literally my birthday, so I was so pissed that he wouldn't let me do that video. I was pissed. So anyway, yeah, but my point is, like, you know, unbeknownst to me, I'm just doing what I'm doing for my boss and knowing how much he represents the culture and understanding how much more a different level of business and investment capital it can attract to the things and the endeavor that he's into by him showing a different level of class, especially post all this trial and everything. Mm-hmm. But it really starts shifting the culture, and it was extraordinary because like a me didn't really exist, so people didn't understand me. They, you know, this is a Negro with a yellow, canary yellow blazer at the Source Awards, and you know, it's like, nigga, is he gay? Like, what's up? And this is like, and I gotta say, like, it was tough, especially as a viably single black man I was at the time.
Right. Heterosexual male.
Very heterosexual. And it's like, you know, but, you know, so it was, but I realized, like, you know, a visionary always looks crazy till they hit dry land, you know, and, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, I'm glad that I was next to somebody who's had as much bad press as he's had as much positive press, Puff, right alongside me through that journey. So, you know, he was like, Negro, you know what you said you wanted to do. Like, it's not going to be easy. You got to just continue to have blinders on and keep doing the things that you're doing because you obviously see it's making a difference. And, I feel, very blessed to, have contribute to the culture and continue to, to
Who
contribute
came up
to the
with
culture.
the name Fonzworth Bentley?
So what happens is,
How you go from Derek Watkins to Fonzworth?
so you know how hip hop go. First of all, you know how nicknames go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, by the way, sidebar. If you don't want a nickname, if somebody calls you something, don't respond to it. That's number one.
Okay.
That's just 101. So after I showed up after the email, the 2 a.m. So the next day he's like, show up at my house at 9:30 a.m. If you're not here by 9:30, you'll have a good life. It's all right, no problem. So I got to like get in the car, go to my job, resign, and then get back up to Park Avenue and 74th was where he was. Now mind you, let me sidebar. Puff owned a building on Park Avenue in 2001. Okay, let me just really It were 3 apartments in the building. Puff was on the first 3 floors or first 4 floors, and then there were 4 more floors and then 4 more floors. And I remember one day I had to go up and collect the mortgage check from the people upstairs. They were out of town, so they wanted me to go. They were like, we left the check on the kitchen table. So I go up there to get the get the check, and I come down. I see him at the office. I'm like, Puff, by the way, nigga, the apartment on the top floor, it's killing yours. He said, word? Negro, do you know he kicked them out and made him swap? He made them swap with him.
I told you.
I felt so bad when I saw the family.
Folks,
I felt so bad.
That's Puff. Puff is Puff is competitive as fuck.
God.
And
so
he
funny.
wants to have the flyest shit.
I felt so bad.
It's got to be the flyest shit.
See the family moving all this stuff. What can they say? It's a black man on the building. It is what it is. So anyway, I show up that morning, next day, and Tony De Niro answers the door. De Niro immediately puts me in the theater because Puff ain't up yet. Hands me a CD, has me listen to stuff. I think at this point everything's a test, right? So I'm making notes. I'm add strings here. I don't know, whatever. So then he comes down. Yeah, Puff's up. So we go upstairs, and then Puff's giving me a tour of the apartment, and he gets very excited to show me his closets, which I was impressed by the fur closet, but that was about it. Like everything else, I'm just thinking, I'm about to change all this. He just doesn't know it yet. But all of this is finna get switched out, right?
Wait a minute. Did you hear him, ladies and gentlemen, say closet? Who the fuck? That's not an apartment. It's a home.
Yo,
that's a home.
It's
a fucking fur closet. That's a home.
No, okay.
You said he lived on the first 3 or 4 floors.
4 floors.
That's a fucking house. That ain't no apartment.
It is a house. Come on. I'm a New Yorker too. I'm from Atlanta, but I'm a New Yorker. So
what's your estimate with the square footage of that place?
That's actually a very good question. I would have to say, because that room where I just had every suitcase on earth laid out, that room alone was at least 2,000 square feet. So
apartment.
Should we just call it a limestone then? Should we just really elevate it?
Let's call it something. Let's call it
the home. So anyway, he's walking me through. So this day, I on purpose didn't dress in a suit.
Okay.
I had on like my baby blue pinwheel corduroy Marc Jacobs. I had on like a gray raglan sleeve cashmere purple label thing. I had on my denim Marc Jacobs, and I actually had some Oliver Peoples shades with tropical punch frames. Catch that. And I had the shades like in my little, in my sweater. So he's walking me through, and I'm trying to like draw diagrams. I don't know if I'm gonna have to just go find another room on my own or something. I don't know what's going on. Right. So he's like, "Okay, nigga, I see your shades. Let me see how you do your shades, then, nigga." So, I'm like, okay, well, this is an opportunity for him. So I pull up my shade on that shit. I'm like, And he's like, you're like a bootleg knee Fonzworth type of nigga or something, right? So Tony De Niro starts laughing. I don't even know where the reference comes from.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't remember at the time. Mm-hmm. And so I immediately say, yo, please don't let that be my nickname. He's like, no, nigga, we ain't gonna do you like that. Well, immediately, I go downstairs. There's a tour bus out front. There's an intern shows up. I'm helping load up this bus. I can see Puff's wheels turning, and Puff's like, yo, nigga, where you live at? I'm like, I live 6 blocks away. Because he was in 74th and Park. I'm 72nd Second. He's like, oh, nigga, go get your stuff. We moving to Miami for the summer. So I go home, go to tell my girlfriend, look, babe, don't tell nobody. I may get fired tomorrow. But I'm getting on this bus. I'm training to be his assistant, I imagine. But I don't know. So I go, load up. And so we went from New York to Miami on the bus. That's about 22 hours, I think.
Yes.
Right? So for 22 hours, he's in the back with the big bed with whatever broad he's with. And there's like writers and like Loon and like Jack Knight and different writers and folks, and they're listening to beats. So this is the first time I've actually seen music being created.
Okay.
I had never seen this process. I'm like, so hold on. These Negroes just sit down to a beat and I like that. And I'm like, this is what happens?
Right.
Because if you've never seen the process, you don't know.
Yeah.
It's vibe. And I'm like, I'm calling home. Like, yo, look, they had this device called the MPC 3000. Just call my brother. Go buy this and figure it out. Like, this is what they're using. So anyway, and for 22 hours, his boy, Tony De Niro, keeps calling me Fonzworth. Just because, at this point, you in the hazing mode.
Right.
That's rites of passage hip-hop. And I feel very fortunate. Like, I got official hazing, right? Like, I really...
From some of the best ever
do it. So I feel like... And I think at the same time, I think that's why I have a lot of respect in this game. Because people know, like, if he done got through Puff... Like, he did some stuff.
Anything.
Yeah, he did some stuff. Like, I ain't never had to walk for some cheesecake. I remember, but goodness gracious. I mean, he wanted me to come on that episode. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to be a part of that episode.
Right.
Like, that's going to be all you. Because that would have been me in the car with a freaking megaphone. Keep walking. And I was like, nah, I'm going to take a pass on that. I'm going to pass on that. So anyway, long story short, when we got to Miami, he was doing all these different dinner meetings. So dinner or lunch meetings with like different executives, either film or television or fashion or all these different meetings. And so an assistant can't sit down at this meeting, right? So, but I realized there's so much game happening at every meeting. And I want to hear this because it's like hearing a meeting and a negotiation with him and these folks. That's like being able to sit at Wharton Business School. So I'm like, I don't want to miss this. So because I worked in the restaurant business, I would go into every restaurant and I say, okay, look, I'm a captain this station. I'm going to pour all the water. I'm going to pour all of the wine. You just come help me clear. Other than that, I don't want you anywhere around this table. And so I would run service for all of these different things.
Okay.
So clockwork, every single time at every meeting, an executive would say, hold on. Puff, like, I'm an executive. I'm a CEO. I have an assistant. But what the fuck is this? Like, I have never seen this shit before.
Right.
And that's really how some people started to think that I was a butler or that sort of type of thing. Because the thing is, anybody knows Puff at the time, he was drinking Santa Margarita, Pinot Grigio. I'm just about to throw up in my own mouth just thinking about it. As much Santa Margarita I've bought and poured. So any assistant had that, like, shout out to all of the assistants that came before me, you know what I mean? They knew that. But, like, when I pour wine, I do formal wine service because I worked in a formal restaurant.
Right.
So that means, I'm going to show the label. I'm going to get a wine key. I'm going to take out the cork. I'm going to hand you the cork so that you can inspect the cork and smell the cork. And then I'm going to pour wine so you can do a taste.
Right.
This is how wine service is done.
Right.
The reality is a lot of these hip-hop Negroes just haven't been around this level of sophistication. When I came with this extra level of sophistication, they didn't know how to articulate other than, this nigga's butler. That's the reality.
Right.
But I was just doing what I've always done, and I really live by the quote by Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. Dr. Benjamin E. Mays was the president of Morehouse College, and he was Dr. King's mentor. So he taught Dr. King about nonviolence. He taught Dr. King the teachings of Gandhi. And the quote that hit me freshman year that has changed my life when I really probably actually heard it for myself my junior year is, whatever you do it so well, no man living, no man dead, or no man yet to be born can ever do it any better. And I've always lived by that mantra. So if I have a level of expectation for myself so high, it doesn't matter what an expectation for my boss or for my parents or for anybody else around me can do. And let's just talk facts. There have been a lot of assistants. I'm definitely one of the most famous personal assistants of all time.
Absolutely. If not the most.
So, and I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just saying the level of excellence I really put on myself was that. And so that's how, I've approached whatever it is that I've done. And so, I think that, there's some good getting in that.
Yes. And absolutely, sir, there's also some some good getting, or get good and a good getting, or however you want to put it, and everything that you put down. And we want to thank my man Derek Watkins, a.k.a. Fonzworth Bentley, for being here with us on the Ed Lover Show. Of course, y'all know we call it Come On, Son, the podcast, but wherever I do, it's just going to be me no matter what. So come on, son. We appreciate y'all listening. Keep God first. Everything else will fall into place. We'll talk at you, with you, to you, and about your ass next week, okay? Be good if you can. Be good. Be careful. If you can't be careful, name your baby HBCU, after Historically Black College or University, all right? Thanks to my girl, Krista Hayes, and, of course, Kimana Paulus for helping me put this thing down each and every week. Rest in peace also, and always, Combat Jack. Thank you for shining your light on me, my brother, because without you, I would not be sitting here right now, all right? Remember, I always give you the good shit and not the bullshit right here on Come On, Son, the podcast. Now get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. This Ed Lover podcast is being done in conjunction with Cigars International. Make sure you check out cigarsinternational.com for all your cigar needs.
This episode of Come On, Son, the podcast is produced and engineered by co-executive producers Kimana Paulus and Krista Hayes. Recorded at Mean Street Studios in downtown Atlanta, Georgia, this is an official Loudspeakers Network podcast.